If you think COVID-19 was bad and the Russia-Ukraine war was bad, you ain't seen nothing yet.
COP27 opens in Egypt today with a fortnight of negotiations tackling some of the most difficult issues surrounding climate change. Let's talk now to Professor Saleemul Huq, who is director of the International Centre for Climate Change and Development, and he's currently in Sharm el-Sheikh. Good morning.
Good morning.
So tell us, first of all, why did you decide it was important to be there in Egypt? Because there has been some criticism that 30,000 people are going to be jetting in to what is a summit looking at tackling climate change.
Well, in my particular case, it's the 27th such conference of parties that I'm attending. So I'm a COP junkie, if you like. I come every year hoping to get a better result. And I'm still hoping to get a better result this time as well.
Well, that is the argument as well, isn't it? I mean, Greta Thunberg is saying it's a forum for greenwashing. Other people saying it's little more than a talking shop. Even if people agree things, they don't actually follow it up with action.
There's some truth to that. I don't disagree with Greta. But on the other hand, there is some action. Not enough, but there is some action. And what tends to happen is that everybody needs to agree to do things, and they have agreed in the Paris Agreement to do it. But as you said, many of them have not gone and done what they had agreed to do. But some are. And what we need to be doing is to encouraging more to join what we call coalitions of the willing, who are actually doing actions. And many of the people here in Sharm el-Sheikh are not negotiators negotiating new text. They are doers. They are action-oriented organizations, people, civil society like myself. I'm not a negotiator. I'm here as an observer, but I participate in many, many different networks and activities. So the COP is much more than just governments talking to each other.
How important is it, do you think, that Rishi Sunak has now decided that he is going?
That's very, very welcome. His decision not to come was extremely short-sighted. The UK happens to be still the president of COP26. COP26 hasn't ended yet. He's supposed to come and hand over to Egypt tomorrow. And when he said he wasn't going to come and do that, that just simply abdicated the UK's responsibility as the leader of the COP. But it's very good that he is now coming and fulfilling his role. But it was very disappointing that he decided it wasn't important enough.
Do you think that developed nations are pulling their weight, if you like, and doing enough to help the developing nations, which, to be honest, are the nations that are really going to feel the brunt of climate change?
Well, that's actually why I'm here. I represent, not formally, but informally, the most vulnerable communities living in the most vulnerable countries on the planet. And they are certainly suffering the impacts of climate change and suffering losses and damages, like we saw the floods in Pakistan and the floods in Nigeria are going on still now. And we are here to try and get the rest of the world, particularly the richer developed countries, to provide some support and funding to the victims of climate change. So far, they talk a lot. They provide a lot of oral sympathy, but they haven't provided any money yet. We're hoping that that will happen here.
Well, when we talk about money, I mean, we know here in the UK and in many parts of the world, there are real economic problems, many of them, of course, linked to the war in Ukraine. There's not a lot of cash around. Rishi Sunak is looking around for about £50 billion at the moment in the upcoming budget. It's going to be difficult to get cash out of these developed nations. Would it be better to go for the tactic of maybe aid relief, the huge amount of interest that developing nations are paying? Should that be dropped so that is effectively cash in the pockets of developing countries to tackle climate change?
Absolutely. That is certainly one of the elements that we would welcome, to be forgiven the debts that we owe. But on the other hand, the fact that you say that cash is strapped, it isn't strapped for many other things. You're spending tens of billions of dollars on military, on aircraft carriers that have no function whatsoever in the current world. You're fighting a climate problem that is many orders of magnitude more bigger than any kind of war that you might envisage. So the ability to pay is a matter of political prioritization, and we've just prioritized the wrong thing so far.
Do you think there's also an element that because the effects of climate change, although we're starting to feel it in the developed world, it's not to the extent that you talk about, for example, in Pakistan, and because it's not there day in, day out, affecting people's lives in a profound way, politicians are just putting it to the back of the queue and looking at the immediate problems?
Absolutely, that's one of the problems. It's a long-term problem, and politicians, particularly those who are elected for a short period of time, have a very hard time anticipating longer term problems that are going to happen after they are out of office. And so everything gets put on the back burner. But unfortunately, by doing that, they are going to exacerbate the problem. The problems are going to get worse, and you will be hit. You, the developed countries, will also be hit. And you're beginning to see that already. It's going to get a lot worse. If you think COVID-19 was bad and the Russia Ukraine war was bad, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Professor Saleemul Huq, thank you so much for speaking to us. Quite a sobering message there. Director of the International Centre for Climate Change and Development. He's currently in Sharm el Sheikh.